Coming to the fourth one, you will be able to design models to show the importance of system analysis and design in solving complex problems using case studies. Okay, so whenever you are going to go with any kinds of huge problems, like such as your case studies, when you are going to take up any kinds of case studies, you will be able to identify the problems, you will be able to design the models for those problems, that is, you will be giving the solution depending on your knowledge, right? And you will be able to give the importance of the software requirements, hardware requirements, how you are going to implement your project, and each and every aspect you are going to give after reading this particular subject. That is, design models to show the importance of system analysis, design in solving complex problems using case studies. Okay, so if you are having a case study or if you are having a problem, so how you are going to solve those problems or how you are going to solve your case study, that you will be coming to know, that is the knowledge you will be gaining after reading this particular subject. Okay, and finally you will be able to study that is, the students will be able to understand, or the students will be able to study of pattern oriented approach for real world problems. That is, once you are done with the reading of the entire portion or a portion which is allocated into our syllabus, so once you are reading, you will be able to read the study of patterns, what kinds of patterns that we are having, how the pattern can be identified, how the pattern is going to be, uh, what we can say, how the pattern is going to be adopted for a particular project or the given question, how you are going to give the solutions, right? So everything is you will be going to gain after reading this particular subject. Okay, so these are the main course outcomes that we are having for this particular subject as the 5 course outcomes. So you will be basically, you will be understanding the basic concepts of what are the real time problems or real world objects, right? So, and you will be able to identify the behavior or the basic concepts of this particular real world problems. That is the primary thing. So once you are identifying that thing, you will be able to apply those things by using your OAD or UML diagrams, right? And you will be having the design concepts like your class, inheritance, abstracts, encapsulation, and everything. That also you will be reading in this particular second unit. That is first unit, second part, and second unit. So once you are reading all those things, you will be able to apply those things like your diagrams, that is UML diagrams and all, for your projects, right? And then you will be easily analyzing all those things, and you will be able to solve the complex problems. If the problem is huge, then you will be dividing it into portions or parts, and then you will be giving the solutions, and then you will be integrating all the solutions to a single problem, which is called as your complex problem or capstone problem. Okay, and then coming to the third one, you will be able to construct the diagrams, that is UML models. You will be able to construct with the appropriate notations, like which one is going to be used as inheritance, which one is going to be used as abstraction, which one is going to be used as your encapsulation and all. You will be easily able to understand, and you will be able to apply, and you will be able to construct the UML diagrams depending on your necessity of invention for your particular projects or a given problem. Okay, and then you will be able to design the models to show the importance of that particular software architecture, software system analysis, and design for solving that particular given problem or complex problem, we are going to say. And you will be able to understand, and you will be able to study the patterns oriented approaches for the real world problems. Whatever the problem or whatever the question that is being given to you, you will be able to identify what kind of pattern it is and how you are going to give the solution, whether it is going to be a creational one, whether it is going to be a behavioral one, or something else. What are the various kinds of patterns that we are having, and based on your study, you will be identify those patterns, and then you will be giving the solutions for this particular given problem. Okay, so these are the 5 basic outcomes of the given subject, right? So clear? So you are having this particular entire syllabus into your notes. You have already written the syllabus and course outcomes, right? So coming to your first unit. Okay, so the first unit is basically the introduction part, where we will be seeing, or where we will be reading the basics of design patterns. In including to this, we will also see the object oriented analysis or object oriented development. Okay, so the first unit is mixture of design patterns, at the same time OAD. Okay, so for the first unit, the first part is going to be getting from the second textbook, whatever that is being assigned for us, that is design patterns. and the second part you will be getting in the first textbook. Okay. So coming to the syllabus, so in the first unit we will be seeing what is a design pattern. That is, we will be seeing the definition of the design pattern, and before seeing the definition of design pattern, we will be seeing the basic introduction to what is design pattern and what are the, so what is a design pattern and what is the introduction for this particular design pattern, that we will be seeing at the beginning. Then we will be seeing the describing the design patterns. That is, after seeing the definition, we will describe what is a design pattern, and then we will be going for the catalog of design pattern. That is, what are the catalogs that we are having for the design pattern. Then we will be going for the organizing the catalog, right? So as we have seen in the previous one, that is in the course outcomes, we will be having 3 to 4 catalogs. Depending on those catalogs, what are those catalogs and how we are going to organize those catalogs, we will be seeing in this particular area. And then we will be seeing the how design patterns solve design problems. So how the design pattern is helping us to solve the complex problems or the design problems that we will be seeing. Then we will be seeing how to select a design pattern, right? So that is, if a problem is given, how you are choosing a design pattern and how we are going for the solution, that we will be seeing. Then how we are going to use the design pattern, that we will be seeing in the first part, right? So the entire portion up to here is first unit, first half I am considering, and this part is completely available in the textbook 2, which is prescribed as your design patterns textbook. Okay. So while coming to the second part, so what is object-oriented design? What is object-oriented development? Key concepts of object-oriented design and other related concepts, benefits and drawbacks of the paradigm. These concepts fall under our object-oriented modeling. That is, which is the textbook is prescribed for us, is the first book. So in the first book, you will be having the second part of first unit. Okay. So coming to the second unit, that is second one. So analysis of system, right? So this is also available for the users. That is for us in the first textbook, which is there in our UML or object-oriented analysis. Okay. So coming to this one, we will be seeing the analysis of a system, right? So what is the how the system has to be and what is the scenario of a system, that we will be seeing. So after seeing that, we will be seeing the overview of the analysis of phase 1, right? So overview of the analysis phase, that we will be seeing. Then we will be seeing the stage 1 gathering of requirements, functional requirements, specifications, defining the conceptual classes and relationships using the knowledge of domain design and implementation. Then we will be seeing the discussion and further reading. So the entire portion of the second unit is available in the first textbook, which is prescribed for us, right? And it is under analysis of a system. If you are having a textbook, so it is under something around 6th chapter. If you are having a textbook of first textbook, so it is around 6th chapter, and it is having complete portion in one chapter. Okay. And coming to your third unit, that is design pattern catalog. So whatever the concepts that we are covering over there in the first unit, so here also we will be seeing those concepts. So here we are having catalog patterns, right? So catalog of design patterns. So the same concepts we will be seeing in our third unit as the separate unit. So here we will be seeing in depth of what are the various kinds of catalogs that we are having, and in addition to that, we will be seeing the different things like structural patterns, adapters, bridge, composite, and decorator, facade, flyweight, and proxy. So these are the concepts which we will be covering in the first unit itself, and we will be reading again in the third unit. So this is also available in the second textbook. Okay. So the first part and this part we are available with the second textbook, which is design patterns, and the remaining 3 units are available in the first textbook. Okay. And coming to your fourth unit, that is interactive systems and MVC architecture. So this is also the part of your fourth unit, and which is available in our first textbook. Okay. So where we will be having the introduction and the MVC architectural pattern, analyzing a simple and drawing the programs, designing the system, designing the subsystems, and getting into the implementation, that is implementation part. Then implementing undo operations, drawing incomplete items, and adding a new feature, pattern based solutions. So this is we will be seeing in our fourth unit part. And after this, we will be going into the designing with distributed objects. This is also available in our first textbook, which is the object oriented analysis, design and implementation, Brahmadathan. Okay. So the 3 units, that is 3.5 units are available in your first book, and 1.5 units are available in your second book. Okay. So in the fifth unit, we will be seeing the client-server system, Java remote methods, right? So invocation and implementing an object-oriented system on the World Wide Web, and web services we will be seeing, and enterprise services bus we will be seeing in our fifth unit. Okay. So each and every outcome is, if you are going to clearly observe, each and every outcome, whatever we are mentioning over here is directly or indirectly related to each and every unit, whatever we are reading over here. Okay. So the first two books, that is textbooks, are more than enough for you to read or to get the good score in your subject. Okay. Because we are having the entire syllabus available in that particular textbooks itself. Okay. Clear? Right. So first answer to my question, then we will move forward. So have you done with any number of classes for SADP, or this is the first class that you are coming? No, no, regular class. Regular class also first class. Okay. So then we will see one after the other for this particular subject. Right, Ram. So first we will see the importance of this particular subject, right? So I have highlighted some 18 to 19 points why we should read this particular subject into our curriculum or into our syllabus, right? So based on these discussions, then we will be moving on to our subject syllabus, and we will be highlighting these points over there, right? So with our syllabus and description over there, right? So coming to this particular subject, we are having the name called software architecture and design patterns. So the name itself is giving us, we are going to see with the architectures, and we are going to see, or we are going to look into the design patterns, that is which are available, sorry, which are required for the users to complete their patterns, that is drawings for a particular project or a given question by some external person, or by raising your own question to yourself. That is, once you are developing your own project, you will be having your own question, you will be having your own solution for that particular question or the given problem by yourself. Okay. So in that case, how this particular subject is going to be useful for you and for us in general, and how it is taking us, or how it is moving us forward for developing any project, designing, then architecting and construction, and then deployment, how it is useful for the users, that is for students, in developing and giving the patterns, that is identifying a pattern, selecting a pattern, and describing a pattern, and how they are applying. Everything can be known with the help of this particular subject. Okay. So let us see the importance in quick few lines, then we will move on to our subject. Okay. So coming to this particular one, the first and foremost importance, or the importance we can say, is software architecture and design pattern is fundamental subject that teaches how to structure, design, develop high quality software systems. Okay. So when you are going for any kind of project or a given project, it is going to give us the basic idea of how the structure has to be, how the design has to be, and how the development has to be. Instead of writing codes, it is going to give us the beyond knowledge of how we are going to implement, what we are going to implement, how the structure is going to be, and what the structure is going to be. We will be identifying, and we will be going in depth for those particular problems which are available with the users, that is with us. Okay. So always we will be writing, or we will be focusing on the coding part at the most of the cases when you are having a problem, or when you are having a project. So going beyond your coding, writing and everything, it is also going to give us the basic fundamental. Okay. So that is the main motto, or that is the main importance why we are reading this particular subject. So coming to the second one, it is going to define the overall structure of a software system, including major components, responsibilities, and interactions. So once you are available with a problem or once you are available with a question, right? So it is going to give us, that is, it is going to give or it is going to define the overall structure for a given problem and the overall software system, including your major components, what are going to be involved in your project, and what else? So it is going to give us the interactions and responsibilities for that particular project or for that particular given question. So say for example, if you are having a problem called ATM machine, as of now, if you think that ATM machine is not available in the market, and if someone is going to come to you and you ask you about the developing and designing of your ATM machine, right? So you will be having multiple ideas in your minds, and you will be keeping all those things in your paper, right? So you'll be writing some requirements like your withdrawal, KYC, etc., etc. You will be writing all the test cases or all the available functions which are available with the particular ATM machine, right? So then you will be going for the responsibilities. Who should write the coding part, who you should test the code, and who should go for the designing, who should go for the requirements gathering, who should go for the each and every aspect in that particular project. So once once you are having a problem, then you will be coming to know, that is, this architecture is going to define the overall structure. So once you are having a problem called ATM, you will be having an idea of getting the overall structure, how you should do, what you should do, and who should be involved, and how much time it should take, right? So if you are coming up with multiple number of errors, how you should eradicate or how you should remove those errors. So everything is going to be coming into your mind once you are having the software architecture, that is the design or the architecture, whatever is available in your mind. Okay, so it is going to define the overall structure of the system, how you are going to develop, what you are going to develop, and all these things, including major components, right? So here you are having the major components as your money withdrawal, KYC, right? So pin generation, right? So other authentication like that. You are having multiple features as your components. So for those components, you will be writing the code, you will be having the design, you will be having each and every aspect. And coming to the responsibilities, who should write the code, who should go for the testing, who should go for the gathering information, who should go for the remaining all the other aspects, that is also going to be taken care. So for those kinds of problems or for any kind of problems, to give the overall architecture or to give the overall structure, to give the overall structure of the system, to give the overall responsibilities, to give the overall components, to give the overall interactions, how the interactions should be taking place in between the customer or the person who is giving the problem or project and to the organization. Everything is going to be clearly defined when you are going to read or when you are going to understand this particular subject, that is software architecture. Okay, so that is our second importance, or we can say it as one of the major key role of reading this particular subject. So coming to your next importance, so why we should read this particular subject is, so design patterns provide us the proven and reusable solutions to commonly occurring software design problems. Okay, so whenever you are having any problem, say for example just like ATM problem or LMS or any other problem, so you are not going to do the solution for the first time. Okay, so whatever the problem that you are having, that is already well existed in the market, right? So for those problems you are going to use, that is whatever the problem that you are thinking it as a new problem, you are going to relate your project or relate your problem to your older projects. So based on your older projects, what you are going to do, if the code is matching to your problem, you will be copying in it, you will be copying it and you will be reusing it. So if it is something is matching to your project, you will be going for reusability, right? So design patterns is going to provide us the solutions. What are those solutions? Reusable solutions. Once the projects are available in the market or once the projects are available in the sources, you are going to take whatever is required for your project from those available sources, right? So those programs or those courses or those solutions are already well exist in the market and they are well proved. Okay, so design patterns is also going to provide us the proven and reusable solutions commonly occurring for software design problems. Whenever you are going for the software design problems, so you are not you are not going for any newer kinds of things. Simply you are getting the problems, that is your solutions based on your previous problems which are available in the market. Okay, so if something is related to your project, simply we are copying it from there and we are dumping it into our projects. Okay, so DP, that is design patterns, is providing us the proven and reusable solutions for the problems which are available with the users. That is, whatever the projects that you are taking or taken previously also, you are taking these solutions which are already proved and the code that can be reused by you, that is by us. Okay, so that is our most and third importance of this particular subject, right? So the subject helps the students to move beyond just writing the code and develop the ability to do design complete and well organized software solutions. So as I said, once you are having a problem, instead of writing the code, it is also going to give us the flexibility, or it is also going to give us the future of thinking beyond the coding and developing the structures, designing and completing a project in a different manner. That is our one of the importance, right? So it also teaches the students how to divide complex problems into smaller, manageable and independent components, right? So once you are having a huge project, or once you are having a huge problem, right? So if you are having a team size of 4, or if you are having a limited team size, then you will be having the capability of dividing that particular project into multiple partitions, and then you will be able to manage each and every partition as a small project, and then you will be integrating it to a single project. So that is also the one of the importance that which is being taught by this particular subject, right? So coming to the next one, it is going to have the good architecture promotes moderate abstraction, encapsulation, loose coupling, and high cohesion, resulting in better software design. So once you are having a problem, once you are having the architecture, it is also going to provide you with the cohesion, coupling, and so good software design, right? So then you will be having the patterns for factory, singleton, observer, adapter, strategy, and help developers solve recurring design challenges effectively, right? So it is going to give us, so if you are having a singleton problem, that is if you are having a single problem, that is also going to give us the solutions, that is design patterns is going to give us the solution. If you are having a huge problem, that is also when you are having that problem also, it is you are going to get the solution. If you are having a complex problem also, you are going to get the solution. If you are having multiple mix of problems also, you will be getting the solutions. That is the beauty of this particular subject. That is, after reading this particular subject, you will be completely understanding how you are going to divide and how you are going to complete your projects into your multiple partitions, and then how you are going to go for the integration part. Okay, so then we will be having proper architectural decisions, improve important software qualities such as maintainability, scalability, reliability, and all, right? So once you are having a good architecture, then you will be having what is to be done after your development, right? So if you are having, or if you are getting any kinds of drawbacks, or if you are having any kinds of queries from the other end, you will be able to easily understand, and you will be able to easily get with the solutions for those questions which are being raised from the other end. That is also one of the main importance of this particular subject, right? So well designed software is easier to understand, test, debug, and modify, extend, and maintain throughout the life cycle, right? So when you are having a well designed software, that is when you are having a project, or once you are having a problem, and once you are well versed with your designing part, so wherever or whenever you are getting any kinds of mistakes, you will be able to easily identify, and when you will be able to identify those questions or queries very easily, then you will be able to easily give your solutions to your those questions which are being raised by the other parties, that is the persons who are giving us the projects, or the persons who are giving us the problems. That is also one of the beauty of this particular subjects. So architectures and design patterns reduce software complexity, right? So architectures and design patterns, that is structure and your pattern identification is going to reduce the software complexity and development effort. That is, so how much you need to put in the efforts for that particular project is going to be identified based on your design pattern, that is designs, and your architecture. Okay, so they encourage the reuse of proven design solutions, reducing the need to develop the solutions from scratch. That is, so whenever you are going for any kind of problem, so once you are having a problem, so you need not to go from the scratch to the deployment. So you can simply get from the sources, you can go for the solutions for your available problems. That is the meaning over here. So it teaches students to evaluate different architectural and design alternatives based on system requirements and quality attributes. So once you are having a problem, so you should be able to easily evaluate different architectural styles, and then you should go for designings and their evaluations. So that is the main motto or the importance of this particular subject. So common pattern vocabulary improves communication and collaboration among software developers and engineering teams. So once you are having a good communication knowledge also, you should be able to easily write the coding, you should be able to easily identify the mistakes, and you should be able to easily go for the solutions of those particular software problems, whatever you are getting or whatever you are having into your problem and solution kinds of things. Okay, so the concepts are very widely applicable to web applications, mobile applications, enterprise systems, cloud computing, distributed systems, and AI applications and microservices. So it is applicable in each and every area where you are having a problem and how you should get a solution for those particular questions or the problems. Okay, so knowledge of architecture helps engineers make better technology and framework selection decisions according to the project requirements. So once you are having a project, so based on your requirement, so how the architecture is going to play the role and how it is going to give us the outcome, that you can easily identify and that you can easily go for the deployment and that you can easily go for the further proceedings. That is also one of the future which is going to provide us by reading this particular subject. So the subject is highly valuable for academic projects, internships, software development careers, and professional engineering practices. So this subject is very, very important for the students in your projects, that is academic projects, maybe mini project, major project, or capstone project, whatever the projects that you are going to take up. So this process is very, very useful for the users, that is for students particularly in the field of academics and in the field of internships also. So once you are having any company specific internship, so what is the problem, what is the solution that you are going to give, and how you are going to crack those internships. So everything is described or prescribed in a format like what is the problem, what is the aim, what is the solution that you are going to give. So these kinds of things you will be able to easily identify and you will be able to easily go for the solutions once you are very versed with this particular subject. Okay, so software development careers and professional engineering practice also, you will be having multiple number of opportunities once you are reading with this particular subject. That is also one of the importance, right? So it provides the foundation for advanced topics such as enterprise architecture, distributed systems, cloud architecture, software networks, and microservices. So it is also going to provide us the foundations for various other aspects apart from our education also, that is our academics also. Okay, so for these purposes we should read this particular subject very well. That is how a pattern should be identified, how the problems are going to be identified, how the solutions are going to be given for those particular problems. Okay, clear so far? Are we moving fast or slow? ఫాస్ట్ వెళ్ళిపోతున్నామా, స్లోగా వెళ్ళిపోతున్నామా? Slow, we are moving slowly or fastly? Slowly only, right? So this is why we are reading this particular subject or the importance of this particular subject. So out and out what we can say is, so after reading this particular subject, right, and when you are reading this particular subject, once you are having any kind of problem, so how your problem is going to be solved by the students or how the problem is going to be getting solution by the available sources is our main motto or main aim of reading this particular subject. So once you are having a problem, if the problem is huge, then you are going to divide the problem into small pieces, that is partitions you will be making. Then you will be going for the solutions for those individual patterns or those individual subparts. Then you will be integrating all those parts and you will be going up with the solution. Okay, that is as a single solution, right? So when doing these kinds of things, what you are going to do is you are going to identify the architecture, that is design, right? So how the design should be for a particular project, right? So if you are choosing XYZ design, right? So why not ABC? That you need to raise the question once you are going with your designing part also, because n number of designs are going to give us n number of features, right? So why you are going with only particular design, that also you should be able to easily answer once you are going with this particular multiple designs also. Okay, so and doing all those things with software architecture and design pattern is going to play the major role. So whether it is major project or minor project or capstone project or whatever the project that you are having, so you will be able to identify your patterns, you will be able to identify your problem, you will be able to give the solution, you will be able to go for the multiple options of designs, you will be able to easily go with your multiple parts. Okay, so that is the importance of reading that particular subject. Right, so once we are very much familiar with the importance of the subject and what are the course outcomes, then we will be moving into our subject, right? So that is the unit 1 first portion. Okay, so coming to this one, so we will be seeing the basic introduction to the first subject, then we will be seeing what is design pattern and what are all the remaining topics that are available with this particular subject. Okay, so coming to the introduction of your design patterns, so it is, as we have discussed, when you are having multiple projects or when you are having a single project, right? And when you are asked to go for the solution for those particular problems, or when you are asked to go for the solution for a given problem, so writing the coding part is becoming very tough a task for the users in order to get the solution for multiple problems or multiple or available problems, right? So when you are having tough task for writing the code, for executing your project, or for doing your project, or for taking up your projects, then you are coming up with alternate solutions. Okay, so as the days are passing, right? So when you are having the coding part as primary thing or primary task, right? So when you are moving with your world, right? And you are having some multiple number of problems for identifying your coding part and for identifying your problem statement. So then we are came up with your software architecture and design patterns, right? So when we are moving with the software architecture and design patterns, we are coming up with the solution called architecture kinds of things, right? So with your architecture, whatever that is available in your market or whatever the architecture that you are choosing, right? So for that architecture, you are going to write your coding part. For that architecture, you are going to go for the designing part. For that architecture, you are going to go for the multiple number of solutions. That is, whatever the possible solutions are there for the given architecture, and for the available patterns, that is, whatever the patterns that are available in the market, for those patterns and for those architectures, you will be going for the solutions. Okay, so instead of only sticking on to the coding part, we are going with the designing part and patterns, identification and solution, right? So that's where the role of the software architecture and design pattern is coming to play the major role. Okay, so that is why we have mentioned over here, object oriented design is difficult, especially when creating reusable and flexible software. Okay, so when you are going for the reusable and flexible software, that is copying the code from one source and getting it done in your particular project, so it is becoming difficult task for the users. So at this juncture or at this point of time, so what the experienced people, that is the software engineers or the persons who are already available or who are already working on those projects or multiple projects, what they are doing is, so as a fresher, you are going to go for writing your code, you are going to go for developing your code, and you are going to go for your multiple number of options. But as an experienced person, what they are doing, they are taking up the code or the sources, whatever available in the market in source, that is in the sources, and simply they are copying and pasting, and they are reusing the coding part, they are reusing the available features into their projects. Okay, so whenever the object oriented design is difficult, that is whenever the designing part is becoming difficult, then creating reusable and flexible software, that is whenever the designing part is becoming tougher ask for the users, that is for the developers, right? So for reusing and developing the coding parts, this came into the existence, that is software architecture and design pattern came into the existence for reusability and proven solutions. Okay, so experienced designers reuse solutions from the past project instead of solving every problems from the scratch. So what they are doing, that is what the experienced people are doing. So we are already available with some solutions, we will be taking it from there, not starting from the scratch for this particular project, like that they are thinking, right? So when you, once you are having some solutions available in the market, and once you are going very good with your projects, simply you are going to take up from some source, and you are not starting your project from the scratch. That is, as a developer or as a code writer or as a developer designer, you are not starting your coding part, or you are not starting your any kind of project from the scratch. You are directly moving, instead of starting from the scratch, you will be moving from your one portion to the other portion very well. Okay, so this is the main introduction to our particular subject. So these repeated solutions are called as design patterns, right? So once you are having one solution and that is being reused by multiple number of persons or multiple number of developers or multiple number of code writers, so whatever the solutions that are being multiply used or reused again and again, so these repeated solutions, whatever that are being used by so and so persons, or whatever the solutions that are being used by the multiple persons, are called as our design patterns. Okay. So once you are repeatedly using the solutions, then it is becoming our design pattern. Okay, that is the pattern which is being used by so and so person or multiple persons for the development of your project and for coping with the market. Okay, so design pattern provide proven solutions to recurring design problems. So what they are providing, that is design patterns are providing the proven solutions, because the solutions which you are taking are the problems, for the available problems you are directly taking, or you are taking it from the sources. You are not starting from your scratch. Okay, that is from requirements gathering. You are not starting your project. You are starting it from somewhere, maybe after requirements gathering, or somewhere maybe from design, or somewhere maybe from your coding and testing part. Okay, you are not starting from the scratch level. Okay, so they make software designs more flexible, reusable, maintainable, and elegant. So that is, pattern designs or design patterns are going to make us the software designs more flexible for the users, because whatever the code that is available in the market or in the sources, we are directly copying it from there, or we are taking the sources from there and we are keeping it over here in our projects, right? So that's why it is making us, or it is giving us the more flexible, reusable, and maintainable and elegant solutions for the users. Okay. So the patterns help beginners to learn from experienced designers, knowledge and experience. Okay. So whenever you are having any kinds of freshers or beginners for writing or for designing any patterns, so you will be learning it from your seniors. That is your experienced people. You will be learning and you will be doing it for your projects. That is, once you are having a project or once you are having a problem, so if you are thinking that your problem is not being understood by you, or if you are unable to give the solution from your, for your particular problem, simply you will be asking your senior who has just recently passed or who is available with you in your contacts, right? So once you are explaining your problem to your senior, he will be suggesting you to get the source or get the solution from the available problems which are being done by their fellow mates. That is your seniors. Okay. So once you, as a beginner, if you are failing to gather the information, or if you are failing to write any coding part, or if you are failing to do any kinds of things, simply you will be reaching out to your seniors. So similar to that, whenever the developers or the beginners are going to have any kinds of problems, they are also going to take the solution or take the information or gather the information from the seniors, that is experienced engineers, okay, or experienced designers. Okay. So as a design pattern, so a design pattern is going to have the names and explains and evaluates commonly used design solutions. So what this particular design pattern is going to give us, it is going to give us the name, and it is going to give us the pattern, and it is also going to give us the, that is evaluates a particular design pattern, whatever that is being used by the multiple people, or whatever the pattern that is being used by so and so teammates for building their projects or for writing their coding parts. Okay. So the pattern helps developers to make better design decisions faster and avoid redesign. Okay. So whenever you are going for the patterns, so it is going to give us, that is, it is going to give us the solution like, so there is no need of going for redesign. That is, again and again doing the same task again and again, we are not going to entertain once we are going to have the pattern kinds of things, because we are having multiple number of patterns which are available with the users, out of which we are choosing one pattern that can be suitable for your particular project. So once you are choosing that particular project, that is one particular pattern for your project, and then you are writing the coding part, or when you are writing or when you are doing all those things, you will be easily able to go for the solutions for that particular uh, your problem. Okay. So with that, you are going to go for avoiding of redesigning. So once you are available with one architecture or one pattern, you will be sticking to this particular pattern, and you will be going for solutions based on that particular pattern, right? So once you are moving forward, and if you are having any issues with this particular pattern, you will be choosing some other pattern as your solution, and you will be going for that particular kind of thing, right? So whenever you are having any pattern with you, you will be writing, or you will be designing, or you will be going with your decision makings very faster, right? So once you are not having your design in a pattern, sorry, your pattern or architecture in a ambiguity manner, then you have to go for again redesigning of things, redesigning of things. But a pattern, that is a design pattern, is going to help us the developers, that is particularly the persons who are going to develop the code or who are going to go for the solutions for a given problem. It is going to make the better design decisions faster and avoid redesigning. Okay, once you are available with the architecture, then you should not be thinking about redesigning of your solutions for the problems again and again. Okay. So this one is going to present us the catalog of important proven object oriented design patterns. That is, this book here indicates your design patterns textbook, whatever we are reading, is going to give us the multiple number of solutions which are available with the multiple number of solutions or proven solutions which are already existed in the market. Okay. So design patterns are based on the solutions that have been successfully used in multiple systems. Design patterns are based on solutions that have been successfully used in multiple systems. So what are all these things that are design patterns are based on the solutions that are already successfully used. Okay. So once you are having one architecture or one design pattern, you have already done with your complete portion, and you have done with your deployment also. So from where you are taking your solution, or from where you are taking your unsolvable solutions. So you are not starting from the scratch. You are starting from wherever you are having any kinds of doubt, or wherever you are having any kinds of issues related to your architectures. You will be taking it from the available sources with a number of patterns are available. You are picking up one pattern and you are going for that particular solution, right? So in simple words, what we can say is design patterns are reusable, proven solutions to common problems in object-oriented software design. Okay, that is, we are not doing anything, sorry, we cannot say that we are not doing anything in as a new, but we will be taking it from the sources, right? So as an experienced person, we will be guiding our juniors to go for the multiple number of solutions with the data whatever is available with us. Or as a beginner, if you are doing, so you will be taking the guidance from your seniors to your juniors, and you will be going up with the multiple number of solutions as your design patterns, right? So out and out and all in all, it is going to give us the reusable, proven solutions for the problems that are being available with the users, right? So if you are having problem one, you will be going for the solution for that particular problem by identifying what exactly the problem is, what is to be done, that is, what is the aim of that particular problem, what are the requirements of that particular problem, how the things are going to be done, and what are the things to be improved, and how the things are going to be well versed with the complete project, right? So in this particular way, you are going to give the solutions for your available problem from scratch to deployment phase. Okay. So in simple words, what we are going to say, so whatever the things that you are doing is reusable. That is, once you are using the design patterns, they are reusables and proven solutions to common problems which are already available, sorry, common problems in object-oriented software design. So this is the basic introduction that which we are having for our design patterns and software architecture, or software architecture and design patterns. Right? Clear so far? Yes, understood. Into your brains or out of your. Yes, is it into your brains or out of? అయితే విని ఉండాలి, లేదంటే విన్నట్టు నటించి ఉండాలి. ఫస్ట్ ఆప్షన్ కరెక్ట్ అనుకోనా, సెకండ్ ఆప్షన్ కరెక్ట్ అనుకోనా? సో విచ్ వన్ ఐ షుడ్ గో విత్, ఫస్ట్ ఆప్షన్ ఆర్ సెకండ్ ఆప్షన్? Yes. Is it clear so far? The basic introduction of software architecture and design patterns, right? So once we are clear, then we will be moving on to the what is design pattern. So whatever the key concepts or whatever the concepts that you are looking over here, the similar kinds of repeated sentences or repeated words you will be catching over there also in the other slides, because completely we are making use of this particular slide as the complete slide, which is the basic slide for our upcoming slides. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Okay. So next one is the design patterns. That is, what is a design pattern is, right? So according to the previous discussions, what we are saying, so pattern design or a design pattern is proven solution to a recurring problems in a particular context, right? So what we are saying, a design pattern or a pattern is a proven solution, we are saying, because whatever the solution that we are using or whatever the solution that we are doing it, we are not starting it from the scratch. We are starting it from somewhere else, not from the scratch, either by taking the guidance from the seniors. If you are a developer, you are taking the guidance from your experienced developer or experienced designer. And if you are a junior, you are taking the guidance from your seniors, that how we are going to get the solution for a given problem, or how we are going to get the how you are going to crack your coding part, or how you are going to crack your problem. If you are available with one problem, how we are going to give the solution, you are taking the guidance from your seniors, but you are not starting it from the scratch. So if you are starting it from the scratch, then we are not going to say it as the design pattern, because So see, so design patterns provide the proven solutions we are already we have already seen, and repeated solutions are called design patterns we have seen. Okay. So what are all these design patterns? These are the patterns which are experienced designers reuse solutions from the past projects. Okay, we are not going to write it as a new, we are going to use it from the past projects we are saying. So if you are not getting it from the past projects, then it is not going to be considered as your design pattern. Okay, that you should be remembering in your minds. Okay, so a design pattern is a proven solution to a recurring problem, that is whatever the problem that you are available with, that is a problem in a particular context. So if you are having a context of mini projects, if you are having a problem of solving mini project, so what is your title you have to choose, right? So once the title is chosen, so you should be able to identify what is the aim of that particular project, right? So once you are well aware of your aim of the project, then you should be going for the solution, like what are the software requirements, what are the hardware requirements for your project. So once that is also clear, what is the coding part, that is what is the front end and what is the back end of that particular project, you should be able to identify, right? So once it is also clear, how many members should be involved in that particular project, that you should identify. So in general, we will be having 4 members or 5 members as a team to develop our mini project as a student. That is clear. So these 4 members or 5 members, what are the different roles, that like what they are doing for that particular project, you have to identify, either requirements gathering, code writer, tester, right? So like developer, designer and all, the roles have to be fixed. Once they are also fixed, you should be able to go for the execution of your particular projects in a smoother manner in accordance with your requirements, right? So first person is going to go for the requirements gathering from the customer, the next person is going to go for the planning, the next person is going to go for the modeling, the next person is going to go for the construction and designing, then the last person is going to go for the deployment, right? So like that, each and every aspect is to be developed and well planned for executing a particular project. Okay, so a design pattern is proven solution to a current problem in a particular context. Okay, so for these particular patterns, so the patterns can be used, that is the patterns are going to use 4 different kinds of things. That is, patterns use objects and interfaces to solve design problems, right? So the 4 major things that which we will be having are, pattern should be having pattern name, and it should have problem, it should have solution, it should have consequences, right? So whenever you are having the pattern or design pattern, it should have 4 things in common for each and every pattern. So it should have the pattern name, so which is going to give us the name of that particular pattern, and it helps the developers to communicate and discuss designs easily with the customers. And it should have the problem, what, when and why we should go for this particular problem, and what is the solution for the given problem, that you should be identified and that should be given as a solution. And what are the consequences, that is what are the advantages and drawbacks or disadvantages of using that particular pattern, we should be able to identify. So these are the 4 basic essentials of a particular design pattern or pattern, we can say. So it should have pattern name, it should have problem, it should have solution, and it should have the consequences. For any pattern or for any question, you should have these 4 kinds of queries for your solution. Clear? So if you are not having anything in your notes, simply you can make note of what is the design pattern, that is this second line into your notes. So this line you can write, and these 4 essential patterns you can write. Okay, that is these side headings. Everyone can see. Is it visible to the last persons? Board is visible? Visible or not? So if you are clear, that is if it is visible, just write, that is just keep your side heading as what is a design pattern, and you write the definition, that is second line, which is displayed on the screen for you, and you write the 4 essential elements of a pattern, write the 4 names like pattern name, problem, solution and consequence. Right, Rama? Done with writing? Hey, if the screen is not visible for the last persons, you can come forward and sit in the front rows. The rows are empty. So it is completed. Ma, no need to write the entire slide. Just write down the side headings. Okay. So if you are not having any notes, you can make note of those points as well. Not a worry. Right, Rama? Completed? Right. So we will move next to our next topic. That is, so, so the next topic which we will be having according to your textbook and which is not there in the syllabus, but it is available for us in syllabus is the design patterns in small talk MVC. Okay. So anyone is having, sorry, everyone is having the idea of MVC, right? So that is model view control architecture. Okay. Model view controller architecture. So here also the design patterns in small talk or MVC, we are going to see the design patterns. Okay. Right. So MVC is a design pattern used to build flexible and reusable user interfaces, right? So what is MVC is model view controller, right? So it is also going to be used for the users. That is, it is also used in a design pattern used to build flexible and reusable user interfaces. Whatever the interfaces that we are going to develop or whatever the interfaces that we are going to do with the help of MVC is, so it is going to be flexible for the users to go for the extensions. It is flexible for the users to go for the interfaces. That is developing the interfaces for doing any kinds of projects or for doing any kinds of problems. Okay. So it divides the application into three components. So one is the model side, the other one is view side, the other one is controller side. So it is going to divide the application into three different categories. M, one side, V, another side, C, another side. That is model view controller as three different components we are going to see, right? So the main benefits of your MVC is it separates data and user interfaces and input handling, right? So it is going to give us the separation of how the data should be and how the interface should be, that is user interface should be, and how it is going to be handled by the user. And it increases the flexibility and reusability. And it is also going to use the multiple views can use the same model. That is how the multiple views can use the same model. It is also going to give us. And new views can be added without changing the model. So when you are going to change any kind of views, you can change the new views. That is, you can add new views without changing the model. That is, whatever the architecture that you are having, that you can have remain same without changing any views. That is, you can add new views but without changing the model, right? So design patterns used in MVC are observer pattern, composite pattern, and strategic pattern. These three patterns we will be using in the model view controller architecture, right? So what is doing in observer pattern is model notifies views when the data is changes, right? So what it is observing whatever the changes that are being made by the user or whatever the changes that are being made by the new data additions or whatever the changes that are being made by the modifications or whatever the changes that are doing from the other end. So it is going to go for the keen observations and it is going to go for the observer pattern and it is going to observe whatever the notifies views when the data is changes. That is, whenever you are modifying or whenever you are changing or whenever you are trying to escape the data also, it is going to be notified in the observer patterns, right? So it allows one model to have multiple views, right? So it is going to have the multiple views as observer patterns. So whatever the changes that you are making for the data, it is going to be observed and it is going to having the multiple views for that particular observer pattern as well. So when it is coming to the composite pattern, it is going to go for the allowing the multiple small views to be combined into a larger view. So as we are saying, when you are having a huge problem, right? So you are going to divide it into small parts and then you are going to go for the integration. Similar kind of thing here, what we are going to do, it is going to allow the small views to be combined into larger view. When you are having a huge problem, you are going to have small views and all these are going to be merged and made it as single view. Right. So for example, a control panel containing many buttons. Okay. So for example, what we are saying, a control panel is having multiple buttons to it, right? So it is having multiple buttons. So when you are going to go for the larger view, it is going to be looking like this. When you are going to view as a smaller one, so 1 is going to have one option, 2 is going to have one option, 3 is going to have one option, 4 is going to have one option, and 5 is going to have one option. Like that, each and every button is going to have their options, but as a whole, as a team, it is going to work together as a single unit. Okay, that is composite pattern we are going to say. And coming to the strategy pattern, controllers defines how a view responds to user input. Right. So coming to the strategy pattern, it is going to control, that is controller is going to define how a viewpoint responds to user's input. So whenever you are giving any kinds of input into your system, how it is going to respond. This particular part is how it is going to respond for you is going to be stored, or it going to be given by the strategy pattern, right? So the controller can be changed without changing the view. So what is the advantage, or what is the thing we can do is a controller can change without the changing the view. Okay. So for this we are going to have the factory method and decorator. So factory method is going to help us to create default controllers for a view, and decorator is used to add extra features such as scrolling to a view, right? So what it is going to give us? So it is going to give us the default controller factory method, and the decorator is going to give us the scrolling option. Okay. So that is the advantage of having these two things in our portion. Okay. So this is how a model view architecture is going to look like. Okay. So this is the complete model. So it is model view architecture complete model. So here you are having the keyboard kind of thing. So where you are getting some inputs from each and everything, right? So model is going to give the inputs, view is going to give the inputs, controller is going to give the inputs for the model. So you can change the model, view and controller dynamically. So whenever if you want to change anything, you can change the information, but without changing any things for your model view architecture. Okay. So if you are not having the complete texture, you can note down again the side headings for these particular things. Okay. So you can keep the side heading as your design patterns in small talk MVC, and you can write down the main benefits and design patterns used in MVC. Right. So no need of writing each and every point. You can write down the side headings. Later on, you will get this particular PPT. Write the definition, benefits, then design pattern, only these side headings. So try to copy the same into your notes, because I have checked with your notes. So some points were missing. Whatever is missing in your notes, that we are covering over here, including to your notes. Okay. So whatever is not there in your notes, that I am making you to write. Completed? Right, Rama, it is finished. Finished. Ma, finished. A is completed. Ma, finished. A completed. Finished or not? Finished. Right. Right. So this is the MVC architecture model which we are having. Right. So then we will see the describing of or the description of the design pattern. What is a design pattern should contain, and what is the description or what are the main sections that are available for the uh, design patterns. Okay. So you can keep your notes aside and once again you can listen. After that you can make a note of what are all these things. Okay. So coming to the describing design patterns. So whenever it is having graphical diagrams are not alone enough to describe a design pattern, a good description of should include a design decisions, alternatives, trade-offs, and examples. So design patterns use a standard format so that they are easy to learn, compare, and apply. So that is whenever you are having the diagrams like UML diagrams or any graphical diagrams which are not sufficient to answer for any kinds of questions or the for given problem. So then at that point of time, we are going with this particular design patterns, right? So whenever we are going with the design patterns, it is having multiple number of queries that are to be answered by the user, that is by us. So starting from its problem statement till the deployment, we should answer for each and every query so that we will be getting a good product outside for either with architecture or with the designs, right? So whenever the graphical diagrams are not enough to describe the design pattern, a good description should include the design decisions, what are the decisions to be taken by the user, and what are the alternate solutions that you are having for the given problem that you should take care, and what are the trade-offs that you are having that you should take care, and then you should take care of your examples, how you are doing and what you are doing for these particular problems, right? And the design patterns use a standard format so that they are easy to learn, compare, and apply for the developers, that is for the users, in order to incorporate their projects or in order to incorporate their things and in order to get the solution for the given problem. Okay. So a design pattern should contain all these points as a whole. Okay. So the points include, that is, the design pattern description and what are the main sections that are used for this particular design patterns are listed below. So coming to the design pattern description and the main sections. So first and foremost thing it should have is the pattern name and classification. So design pattern should have one name and one classification. So which is going to gives the pattern a meaningful name and category. That is, so if you are choosing ATM project, so what is the project is going to fall under? Or if you are choosing LMS, what is the pattern it is going to fall under? And what are the things that are need to be done for that particular project. So if you are choosing your own mini project, what is the category and what is the usage or what is the sub usage of that particular category. And if you are taking internships as your pattern name, what is your internship company name and what is the category that you are doing, right? So whether it is national level, international level, or only local level, such kinds of things you should be able to answer for this particular pattern name and classification. It should have the class pattern name and it should have the classification of that particular pattern, right? So next it should have the intent. What is the intention of doing that particular project, or what is the intention of that particular pattern you should be available with, right? So which is going to explain us the purpose and problem that the pattern is going to solve. So if you are choosing a problem called ATM, what it is going to give us as a solution. If you are going to go with the internship, what is the intent of internship? If you are going with mini project, what is the intention of mini project? If you are going with major project, what is the intention of major project? If you are going with some other project, what is the intention of that particular project? It should have the name, classification, and it should have the intention of doing. That is, what is the purpose and what is the problem of doing that particular program or doing that particular problem you should have, right? So it is also should be known as, that is, so the other names of the pattern should be known to the user. Okay, so that is why it is also known as is going to be listed for that particular design pattern. Then it should have the motivation. What is the main motto of doing that particular project, or what is the main motto of doing that particular internship, or what is the main motto of doing that particular mini project, or what is the main motto of doing that particular major project. You should be having the information, right? So it gives an example of showing how the pattern solves a problem, right? So motivation is going to give us how the pattern solves a problem. Then it should have the applicability. Okay. So if you are going to go with the internship, so what is the application of that particular internship? And if you are going with mini project, what is the application of that mini project, where it can be used, whether it is used in AI or cloud computing or in any other domains, right? So if you are going with any projects, where it can be used, if you are going with internships, where it can be used, if you are going with any other things, where it can be applicable for the users in day-to-day life, that we have to see. That we have to see. That is, when and where it use the pattern, that you should be able to identify, right? And it should also have the structure. So where it is going to have the classes, objects, and its relationships in between those classes and objects. So it should also have the participants. That is, it should contain the classes or objects that is going to give the responsibilities of that particular classes and objects, right? So it should have the collaborations with the patterns, that is how the participants can work together. So if you are going with mini projects or major projects, how the people are working together, and if you are going with the huge projects, how the team of people or how the team is working together for the designing a pattern and for executing that particular problem, right? Then it should contain the consequences, that is, what are the benefits, the limitations, and what are the trade-offs of that particular project you should mention, right? So then it also should contain the implementation part, that is, implementation tips, techniques, and possible problems, what are we are going to get once you are executing a so and so problem in your day-to-day life, or once you are doing with some problems into your given problem or identified problem, we can say, right? So it should also contain some sample code, so which provides some example code or mainly in C++ or Smalltalk. So you should have chosen one language for writing your particular sample code, whether it is C or C++ or Smalltalk. So it should contain some small code or sample code, we can say. So it should also contain the known uses. So that is, so what are the uses or what is it used in real system, that should be known for the given problem. And it should also have the related patterns. So what are the related patterns and how the similar or connected patterns are available for the users, and what is their difference between those similar patterns and how it is going to be useful for the user, that also should be known for the each and every aspect. Okay. So this is what the describing the design pattern is. So it should contain, or the design pattern description is containing pattern name and classification, intent, also known as modification, applicability, structure, participants, collaboration, consequences, implementation, sample code, known uses, and relatable patterns. So relating to these aspects, we are going to go with the simple given project or sample given project for any given project. So whenever it is having any difficulty in designing or modeling for right, so graphical representations are whenever they are not sufficient for representation, we are going with this particular describing design patterns, and it is containing some multiple number of points, and it is having some sections of usage, when to use, where to use, how to use, what to use, what is to be get, how it is to be get, and what are the things to be noted, and what are the things that are to be explained. Right? So each and every aspect is going to be shown under describing design patterns. Right? So once we are clear, just you can again write the definition, and you can write the names of the design pattern description. Okay? So write the definition, and then you can write, so write the definition of the design pattern. Again, you can write the design pattern description with the names. Okay? So just write down the side headings and the definition. So make it fast, guys. So even if you want to write the content also, it is fine. So which is not available into your notes, so you can directly copy it if you want, right? So for me, if you are copying just side headings also, it is fine, so that you can create content for your as your answers. So once it is done, just let me know so that we can move forward. It's finished. So at the end of the day, we will check one after the other. Okay, notes will be checked. No, not need to worry. Right. So at the end of the day, Your notes will be checked. If you are not writing, you will be marked as absent. Done with writing? Finished? So you are writing completely or only headings? Noting down completely or writing only headings? Writing completely. Up to structure, is it finished? Up to structure. Up to structure, everyone is done? Yes. Remaining courses up to implementation? Implementation, is it done? Up to implementation. Be a little bit faster. You are a little bit slow. Now is it finished? Up to implementation, everyone? Implementation. Done up to implementation. Known uses. Known uses. Yes. Now is it finished? Up to known uses. Known uses. Last point. Related patterns. Is it done? Related patterns. Done with related patterns. This side, right side. Done with related patterns. So once it is done, just we will move on to the next one. So next topic which we are having is the catalog of design patterns, right? So here we will be seeing what are the various different kinds of design patterns, that is the catalog of design patterns that we are having over here. And in further decidings, that is in further readings, we will be seeing in depth of what is there in each and every design pattern. Okay, so as of now what we are going to see is what are the different kinds of design patterns that we are having. So first one we are having it as creational patterns, then we are having structural, then we will be having behavioral. Three different design patterns we will be having, right? So coming to the first one, creational patterns, we will be having it as, so in creational patterns, we are having abstract factory, builder, factory method, prototype, and singleton. So while coming to the structural patterns, we are having adapter, bridge, composite, and decorator. So while moving on to your behavioral one, so we will be having, so chain of responsibility, command, interpreter, iterator, mediator, memento, observer, state, strategy, and template method and vision. So these are the various behavioral patterns which we are available with, and these are the creational patterns, and these are the structural patterns which we are having. So in our third unit, we will be seeing in depth of these creational patterns, structural patterns, and behavioral patterns over there in depth. So what is there in creational patterns, what is there in structural patterns, what is there in behavioral patterns, and how they are going to give the responses for the users in creational, how they are going to give the responses in structural, and how they are going to give the responses in behavioral, right? So as of now, we will see the definition, that is what is a creational pattern is, and what is the pattern, and what is its simple meaning, that is what is the meaning of that particular creational pattern. So coming to the first one, creational pattern, we are available with abstract pattern. So the meaning is, so it creates the families of related objects. So what do you mean by abstract factory? So it is the creation of related objects. So if you are having 1 to n objects in a family, you are going to create one object 1, object 2, object 3 up to object 10 of similar kind, or creates families of related objects. So if you are available with 1 to n objects, if you are having any connections or connectivity in between these objects, you will be having the you will be having all those in abstract family. That is, they creates families of related objects. So object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4 up to object 10. What is the relationship between those objects? And they are categorized under single name, that is pattern called as abstract factory. Then coming on to the builder, it is going to build the complex objects step by step. Okay, so you will be having multiple objects, or you will be having a number of objects. So you will be, it will be built step by step. Okay, that is the objects. So if you are having object 1 to be written, or object 1 to be developed, and object 2 is to be developed, and object 3 is to be developed, so similarly object n is to be developed. So object 1 is to be developed, that is object 1 is developed first, then object 2, then object 3, then object 4, up to object n. So step by step, that is one after the other, these objects are being developed by using builder pattern. That is, builds complex objects step by step. So whatever the objects that are you are thinking it as complex, they are built step by step. That is one after the other or ATS stretch. Okay. So then coming to the factory method, it lets subclasses decide which object to create. Okay. So when you are having main classes and subclasses, it is going to devise, that is factory method is going to decide subclasses which decide which object is to be created. Okay. So that is subclasses decide which object to be created, right? So if you are thinking this as subclass and this is main class, so these are going to define, that is these are going to decide which classes are going to be created, that is subclass 1, subclass 2, subclass 3, right, and subclass 4, like that. These subclasses are going to decide the main classes, how the main class is going to be constructed or how the main class is going to be created. Okay. So this pattern name, this kind of pattern is called as factory method. Then coming to the prototype, so it creates the objects by copying an existing object. So what it is going to do? It is going to create objects by copying an existing object. So one object is already available for the user. So from these objects, it is going to copy the text and create new object. So this is existing object and this is new object. So these objects are going to be created or generated from this existing object. So that pattern is available in the prototype. And coming to the singleton, it ensures only one instance of class. Right, so singleton ensures only one instance of class. That is, only one class is available for a particular project or for a particular given problem. Okay, so this is related to our creational patterns. These are available with abstract factory, builder, factory method, prototype or prototyping, and singleton. Right. So when it is coming for the abstract factory, it is going to create the family of related objects, that is objects 1 to n of the same family or same group. And when it is coming to the builder, it is going to build the complex objects step by step. So objects will be created step by step by one object after the other, right? So coming to the factory method, it is going to let the subclasses which objects to create, right? So these subclasses are going to create the objects for the users for the subclass. And then coming to the prototype, so it creates objects copying with the existing objects. So existing objects will be there. From that, you are going to create the new objects. And singleton ensures only one class or instance of class is available for the users. So this is related to our creational patterns. Okay. So then, clear? Right. So moving on to with our structural patterns, we are having with 4 different kinds. So first one is adapter, which is going to make the incompatible interfaces work together. Okay. So whenever you are having any incompatible interfaces, that is whenever you are having some interfaces which are not compatible with the interface, it is going to make us compatible for working together. That is adapter's role. So when it is coming for the bridge, it separates abstraction from implementation. So that is, it is going to separate the abstraction. That is, whatever the information that we are getting from the previous one, it is going to make it as separate, and it is going to go with the implementation. So coming to the composite, it treats individual and group objects uniformly. So whether it is individual object or group object, it is going to treat it as same object. That is, similarly it is going to treat, that is irrespective of the any kind of special features, it is going to treat as only one object, whether it is going to be single or group. Coming to the decorator, so it is going to add features to objects dynamically. That it is, whenever you want to go for any changes, you can add dynamically. That is, whenever you want to add anything, you can add it dynamically for the product. So coming to the next one, that is the behavioral patterns. So focus on the communication and behavior between objects. So it is also have the chain of responsibility. So which is going to have the passes a request through a chain of folders, right? And command is going to represent the request as an object, and the interpreter is going to have interprets the sentences or languages or grammaticals grammars or grammatics, we can say. And coming to the iterator, it accesses implement elements sequentially. And coming to the mediator, it is going to control the communication between objects. Whenever you are having multiple objects, how the communication should take place, it is going to mediate. And coming to the mementos, it saves and restores the object's state. That is, what is the state of a particular object it is going to store, whether it is in running state, waiting state, requirement states, that is new state, or all the other states, it is going to make a note. And coming to the observer, it is going to notify the independent objects when something changes. That is, always its role is to observe each and every aspect, whether it is data or whatever the changes that are being made. And whenever something is going wrong, its role is to notify something is changing, or something is happening in the data, or something is happening in the objects, or something is happening with the objects, right? So coming to the state, so it changes behavior when the object's state changes. So that is moving from new state to ready state, how it is changing, ready to running, how it is changing, running to waiting or blocking state, how it is changing, waiting to dead state or terminated state, how it is changing. At each and every state, how it is changing its position, it is going to take care. Okay. So then coming to this strategy, it allows different algorithms to be used with interchangeability. So whenever you are using any kinds of algorithms, you are going to go with this particular interchangeable nature of your algorithms. So if you want to modify or if you want to change with your algorithms, you can directly go with the this particular strategy, that is, which is allowing you to change or allow different algorithms to be used interchangeably, right? So you can interchange your algorithms of your project dynamically with the help of this particular strategy pattern, right? So then coming to the template method, so it defines an algorithm structure and lets subclass change steps. So it is going to define the algorithm kind, and it is going to let you change for the subclasses. And then coming to the visitor, it adds operations without changing element classes. So coming to your visitor, it is going to change, that is, adds the operations without changing its element classes. So without changing your element class, that is primary class, you can go for changing your multiple classes when you are having your visitor pattern in your behavioral pattern size. That is communication and your behavioral changes. Okay. So you can write the side heading as, so you can keep this heading as the catalog of design patterns, and make note of all these things in three different side headings, that is creational pattern, structural pattern, and behavioral pattern. First write this slide, then we will change or we will move on to the behavioral one. Copy it. Just try to complete it very fastly. Heading is catalog of design patterns. Then you can see the creational pattern. That is, you can write creational pattern. Then write for structural. Then we will move on to the behavioral pattern. Write fastly.
Hello.
It's completed. So once we are done with this one, we will see another two topics. Then only we will be moving on to our lunch. Okay. Completed. Creational is done. Structural is done. Both sides. Creational is completed. Creational patterns is completed from both ends. Left side finished. Boys. Creational pattern. Is it completed? Girls and boys towards right side. Is it done? Creational. Then structural. Left side. Finished. Boys towards left side of me. Finished. Structural one. Completed or you're yet writing? You're writing still or finished? Right side. Finished. My left side. Completed or not? Completed. So once it is done, then you can go for behavioral. Okay. So behavioral patterns. Just make a note of all these behavioral patterns, right? So then we will discuss two more topics and then we will move on to our lunch. So write little bit fast. You are writing little bit slow. So if you want me to dictate, I will dictate so that you can write. Want me to dictate or you will write? Or you will write from the screen? Shall I dictate or you will write from the screen? Yes, which one is better? You will copy or I will dictate? Yes, you will copy or I will, shall I dictate? Will copy. Little bit fast. You do it little bit fast, okay? You are writing little bit slow. Then Anna, write fastly, okay? Don't discuss. First write it. Complete the text. Then we will move on to next topic, okay? Is copy it, okay? We'll be moving on to our lunch after completing two more topics only, okay? So first complete writing, then we will discuss two more topics, then only we will move on to our lunch, right? Don't discuss among yourself. If you are having doubts, raise your hand. I will come to you. We will have discussion. Completed. Everyone, it is done. Left side. Behavioral patterns, it is done. Left side. Completed. Boys. Behavioral patterns, it is done. Boys, left side. Completed or still you are writing? Right side, Rama. Is it done? Boys and girls. Behavioral patterns, it is completed. Is it completed? Little bit fast. It's finished. Left side. It's completed. Left side, it is finished. Right side, is it finished? Right. Right. So then we will discuss about the organizing of the catalog. Okay. Right. So then we will discuss the organizing of the catalog. Then we will discuss one more topic. Right. If possible, we will write. Otherwise, we will move on to our lunch after discussions. Right. So if time is there, we will write. Otherwise, we will move on to our further proceedings. Okay. So coming to the organizing of the catalog, so we are having three different kinds of catalog. One is creational, the structural and behavioral. So how to organize these catalogs is our next question. That is organizing the catalog. Okay. So these catalogs are having the classifications. So one is creational one, the other one is behavioral one, the other one is structural one. Okay. So classification of design patterns is have different sizes and levels of abstraction. That is how we are going to gather the information and what is the information is going to be gathered and how we need to get the information from various sources by using our abstraction. That is how we are going to gather the information or requirements for the given level or for the given project is our classification of design patterns. And classification helps us to organize, learn, compare and select patterns easily. So why it is, that is why it is useful for the users or how it is useful for the users. So it is going to help us to organize the patterns, to learn about the patterns, to compare the patterns, how the creational patterns are behaving, how structural patterns are behaving, and how behavioral patterns are behaving, and to select patterns easily. So, which is the pattern that should be chosen by the user for carrying out a particular project or carrying out a particular problem? How you are choosing is based on your classification. That is how to organize, learn, compare, and select the patterns easily is our major motto or organizing the catalog by using the classification model. Okay. So patterns are mainly classified into two criteria, that is the purpose and scope. Okay. So it is going to be categorized, that is patterns are going to be categorized under two different categories. One is the purpose, the other one is the scope. So what is the purpose of the project or what is the purpose of the pattern and what is the scope of the pattern? That is how we can use the pattern in our further proceedings. Okay, so those 2 points are going to be playing the major role when we are going for the classifications. So coming for the purpose of the various patterns, so creational pattern is going to deal with the creation of objects. So what is the creational pattern is doing? So it is going to deal with the creation of multiple objects of creation of objects. So when it is coming to the structure, it is the composition of classes and objects. And when it is coming for the behavioral pattern, it is going with the communication, interaction, and responsibility between objects. So in the first one, that is creational one, we are creating the objects maybe from object 1 to object n. Okay, that is object 1 to object n we are creating, right? So in coming to the structure, we are going with the classes and objects. So how the classes are behaving and how the objects are behaving, that is how the object 1 is behaving for how class 1, how the object 2 is behaving for class 1, and how the object 3 is behaving for class 1, and how the objects n is behaving for class 1. So similarly, how the objects of various classes are behaving for class 2, 3 up to n, how they are behaving, and what is the communication between the object 1 and object 2 with class 1, object 1 to object n with class 1, object 1 to object n in class 2, object 1 to object n in class n. Like that we are going to check with the behavioral patterns, right? So we are going to go for the patterns classification, right? So with the main two purpose, that is purpose and scope. So when it is coming for the purpose, so creational one is going to create the objects, and structural one is going to create composite with the classes and objects. Both are going to be available. When it is coming for the behavioral, it is going to deal with the communication, interaction, and responsibility between objects, how they are behaving for 1 to 1 objects and 1 to n objects in between classes and objects. Okay, so coming to the scope of this particular catalog, that is scope of these patterns. So class patterns and object patterns are going to be seen, how the class patterns are behaving and how the object patterns are behaving for creational objects, that is creational pattern, structural pattern, and behavioral patterns, right? So coming to the class pattern, focus on relationships between the classes and subclasses using the inheritance. Okay, so what is the role of class and what is the role of subclass? So which is already included in the main class, right? So what is the role of class to subclass, and what is the relationship between these classes and subclasses and how they are behaving for class and subclass, we are going to see with the by using the concept called inheritance, that is acquiring the properties of one class from the other class, that is base class, sorry, subclass from the base class, that we will be seeing in this particular classes and subclasses using inheritance. So these are the mostly fixed at compile time. So these classes are mostly fixed at compile time. When you are compiling your code, or when you are compiling your program, or when you are compiling your project, you will be checking with these particular class patterns with help of your inheritance concept. That is using inheritance, and at compile time you will be focusing on these particular class patterns. Okay. So coming to your object patterns, so it focus on relationship between objects. So you will be having multiple objects. So what is the relationship between object 1 to object n, that is object 1 to object n, and how it is behaving with object 1 to object n, and what is the connectivity, what is the purpose, what is the role, what is the impact, what is the other kinds of things that are available with the objects, those things we will be seeing. And these are more flexible and can change at runtime. Okay, so classes will be at compile time, objects will be at runtime. Okay, so other relationships include some patterns are used together, that is, so you can have the mix up of either of the two, or you can have the mix up of either of the three in these particular patterns. And some patterns are alternatives, that is such as prototype and abstract factory. Right, so some patterns are going to be alternative ones. So if you are going to use one prototype this time, you have to go for the other kind of thing on the next side. that is abstract factory on the next side, or abstract factory in your next iteration. Okay, so you will be using one at a time, prototype at a time, and you will be using abstract factory other time. So you are not going to use the same kinds of things at a stretch, right? So some patterns have similar structures and different purposes. That is, some patterns have similar structures but different purposes. So you'll be having the structure as same, but you will be using it for multiple purpose or different purpose for the composition of your decoders or decorators, you can say. So for the purpose of decorators, you will be having the similar kinds of structures, but you will be having, or you will be using them for multiple or different purposes, right? So this is the organization of catalog. That is how our categories or catalogs of categories are going to be categorized, and what is the use of those main categories, right? So they will be using in two different types, that is purpose and scope. So when it is having purpose, each and every pattern is having its own purpose. So when it is having scope, it is having class patterns and object patterns. One is going to be in compile time, that is class pattern. The other one is going to be in the runtime, that is your object patterns, right? So at each and every level, it is going to have their relationships, and some other patterns are also going to be used together, some with alternatives. That is, one pattern can be used one time and the other is going to be used another time. So for that, we are using two different kinds. One is prototyping model and the abstract factory, right? So other patterns are going to use, similar patterns are going to be available for multiple purpose or different purposes. So this is how we are going to organize our catalogs, that is available catalogs, how we are going to organize. Okay, so if you can see this particular table, so you will be having the scope of the model, that is class and object. So in creational one, factory method is going to be used, and object, coming to object, the abstract factory, builder, prototype and singleton are used. And coming to the structural, you will be using class as adapter and behavioral, interpreter and template method. And coming to objects, in structural you will be having adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, facade, proxy. And coming to the behavioral, you will be having chain of responsibility, command, iterator, mediator, memento, flyweight, observer, state, strategy, and visitor. So if you are going to click on this particular one, you will be redirected to some other page where you will be having the entire information about these particular purposes in our textbook. Okay, so here the links are not pasted. These links I will be showing you in your third unit. Okay, so there I have pasted the links. Once you are clicking on this particular thing, you will be redirected to one more page where you will be having the responsibility of the information of that particular purpose. Okay, so as of now I have kept only the headings and page numbers where you will be available with that particular information. So if you are checking with the creational model, once you are coming with the factory method, you will be available with the information on page number 107. Okay, so if you click on this link, you will be redirected to page 107 in your textbook where you are having some information related to this particular factory method. So once you are clicking on adapter, you will be having it in the page 139. There you can copy or you can see the text what is there for the structural method of class. So similarly, behavioral method of class is going to be available in page 243 and template method is available in page 325. Okay, so if you are clicking on that particular link, you will be redirected to that particular page and you will be having your information related to that particular one. So but the links are not pasted here. I will be showing it to you on the third unit itself. Okay, so this is the picture of design pattern relationships, how the relationships are going to be from one pattern to the other pattern. Okay, so they are not going to be having in a sequence manner, it is going to be in a randomized manner. We need to clearly and keenly observe those patterns when we are going to draw the diagram. Okay, so this is how the chain of responsibility is going to be, facade is going to be, memento is going to be, right? So each and every purpose of structural, creational, and behavior is included in this particular single diagram. Okay. So instead of writing thousands or hundreds of pages, simply if you are drawing this particular diagram and if you are explaining the complete concept, then it is well and good for the other person also to understand what is there in this particular picture. Okay. Right. So before we leave for our lunch session, once again, let us recap what we have seen so far. So in the beginning, we have seen the, yeah, just you can close your books, no issue, right? So you can answer to my questions. So at the beginning, we have seen the syllabus and the course outcomes of this particular subject. Then we have seen the syllabus, then what is there in which textbook we have seen in clear manner. Then we have seen the importance of this particular subject, why we are reading and what are the benefits of reading this particular subject. Then we have seen, that is, then we came to see the introduction to our design pattern, what is the role of design pattern and how it is useful for the design pattern, sorry, how it is useful for the users, that we have seen in this particular slide. So then we have seen the what is design pattern and what are the elements, that is essential elements of design patterns, right? So then we have seen, so the design patterns in small talk, MVC, that is model view controller architecture. So where the patterns are, design patterns are used in three different levels, that is observer, composite and strategy pattern. Then additionally we will be having factory method and decoders, right? So then we have seen the diagram. Then we have seen the describing pattern. So what is the pattern and how we came for the patterns when we are having difficulties, where we are having difficulties and how the pattern has come into the existence and what are the different pattern names or different descriptions that we are having for design patterns we have seen, right? So then we have seen the catalog of design patterns. There we have seen three different kinds of catalogs for design patterns. And then we came to see the next topic, which is called as organizing the catalog. Okay. So then we have seen this particular diagram for the users. Okay. So this diagram we have seen, and up to here we have done with our design pattern relationships. That is, up to here we have done with our discussions. Okay. So in the afternoon class, we will see further discussions related to our design patterns. So if design patterns are done, then we will enter into our object-oriented analysis and design. Then we will see what is object-oriented development and all the other concepts, relationships, and all the other concepts object-oriented analysis and design. Okay. So far, whatever you have written and whatever is there in your mind, once you are coming for the afternoon session, come with preparation or by glancing it. Okay. So we will have a quick Viva session kind of thing. Then we will move on to our further discussions. Okay. finished. That one is finished. Everyone. So no need of drawing this table. You can directly copy this one. That is how to use the design pattern. You can take that one. Last slide. Yes. Is it done? Completed? Right, Rama? Is it finished? Yes, completed. Right. So once again, we will look back what we have seen so far. Okay. Then we will try to wind up. Okay. Right. So we'll go concept by concept according to your syllabus. Right, Rama. So in the forenoon session, at the beginning, we have seen the introduction to your subject, that is software architecture and design patterns. Then we have seen the importance based on your projects, internships, mini project, major projects, etc., etc., and how you are relating all the things to your projects, real world entities, and all the other aspects that are related to you. Then we have seen the course outcomes. Then we have gone through your syllabus, what is there in which textbook and what is available in which textbook, right? So then we have seen the introduction part, that is unit 1. We have entered into the unit 1. Then we have seen what is a design pattern, that is basic introduction we have seen. So where we came to know that the object oriented designing is a bit difficult. Then we came up with this particular flexible thing which is called as software architecture and design patterns. So then we came to know that there are some solutions or there are some pure points where the programmers or developers are using again and again. So those points are those solutions, we are calling it as design patterns over here, as they are reused, reused for our own purpose, right? So then we have seen the design pattern definition. Okay, so we have seen the design pattern definition, and then we have seen the essential elements of design pattern. So how many elements are there? Essentially, how many elements are there in design pattern? How many elements are there? How many essential elements are there? Yes, I am not talking to the walls, I am talking to you people, okay? So how many essential elements are there? Four essential elements are there. What are they? Pattern name, next problem or problem statement, solution for the problem, and consequences of the problem. Okay, we are having four essential elements for a pattern. Then we have seen the so design patterns in small talk MPC. So where the model view controller architecture is being designed for some benefits of the users. So where we are using three different patterns. One is observer pattern, composite pattern, and strategy pattern. In addition to these three, we are using two more methods. One is factory method and decorator method for the better understanding and better performance of the problems for the users, right? So then we have seen the diagram. Then we have seen the describing design patterns, which is available in the syllabus. So coming to the describing designing design patterns, whenever the graphical representation or the diagrammatic part representation is going on, then it is having some drawbacks, right? So in code writing or in graphical representation, to overcome that, we are going with the describing design patterns, where each and every pattern is going to have so decision makings like designing decisions, right? So alternatives, trade-offs, and examples are going to be included in describing design patterns. So for design patterns, we are available with the multiple parameters, nearly about 11 to 12 parameters we are having. So so nearly about 12 to 13 parameters are there. So upon which we are having each and every parameter as pattern name and classification, what is the intention of the project or problem, what is also known as, that is what is the problem is also known as, and how we are looking into the problem. So what is the motivation of the problem? What is the applicability of the problem? What is the structure of the problem? Right. So what is the how many participants are there for that particular problem, or what are the applications of the particular problem? What are the collaborations? What are the consequences? What is the implementation? What is the sample code? What is known uses? That is, what are the known uses for the problem, and what are the related patterns of the problem we have seen under describing design pattern. So these are the parameters, different parameters which we are going to consider when we are describing the parameters. That is describing design patterns. Okay. So then we came to see the catalog of design pattern. How many catalogs are there in design pattern? How many catalogs are there? How many catalogs? Three catalogs. What are those three catalogs? Creation, structural, and behavioral. Okay. So in under creational patterns, we are having 5 different pattern names with sample meaning, that is simple meaning what it is having. And in structure, we are having 4 with simple meaning, and in behavioral, we are having 11 with simple meaning. Right. So then we have seen, so organizing the catalog. So how we are going to organize the catalog, we have seen. So for organizing the catalog, we have seen the purpose and scope for the 3 different catalogs, whatever we are having. So for the purpose, we are looking at how the creations are doing, how the structures are doing, how the behaviorals are doing. While coming to the scope, how the class is behaving, and what is the uh, compiled sorry, what is the time that at which we are going with the class compilation, and what is the time at which we are compiling for the, that is we are going for the object patterns. And we have seen the other relationships between these 3 patterns, that is organizing the catalog patterns. Then we have seen the diagram, which is design process space, where the designers are going to have the spaces of the scope, that is scope of the class, with the creational, behavioral, and structural, and same way object with creational, structural, and object, that is behavioral. So then we have seen this particular diagram, where this is a diagram which is going to be useful for the organization of the catalogs for the users, right? So then we have seen how design patterns solve the design problems. So in 4 different steps or 4 different ways, we are going to go for the solution of how design pattern is going to solve the design problems. So the first and foremost thing is finding appropriate objects, then determine object granularity, then you have to go for specifying, then you have to go for the implementation, that is specifying object interfaces, then specifying object implementation. These are the 4 steps which we will be using for your uh, pattern solving for design problems. Okay. So then we have seen the usage of the classes and objects in these particular pattern solving and solutions. So where you are using class for one thing, interface is for one thing, and objects is for the other thing, and how these inheritance is having the relationship between all these objects, that is objects, classes, and inheritance. Right. So then we have seen the abstract class, overriding, mix-in class. Right. So then we were trying to see these differences between the implementation, delegation, and all these things, right? So then we have seen the designing for change, right? So which is not there in syllabus. Then we have seen the how to select a design pattern. So these are the 6 different steps that how we need to select the design pattern. That is how to select a design pattern. Right. So these are the 6 different steps. The first step is saying that understand how patterns solve the problems. That is, again we have to understand the pattern. That is how the pattern is going to solve the problem. That is how the given problem can be solved by the user. Then read the intents, that is intention of the problem we have to read. Then we have to go for the relationship between the patterns, whatever the patterns that we are available with, we have to go for the relationship between those patterns. Then you have to go for the study patterns with similar purposes. So if you are having any similar kinds of patterns, what are the purposes of those patterns you have to check, and then you have to go for the finding the cause of redesign. If you are having any failures or if you are having any kinds of mistakes or any kinds of replacements, how you have to go for the redesigning and what are the consequences of those redesigning. That is, identify what should be changed. That is, what should be modified that we have to take care when we are going to go for the how to select a design pattern. Then we have seen the how to use a design pattern. That is our last concept for today. That is how to use a design pattern. So we can use a design pattern in 7 different steps, right? So starting from the reading the pattern complexity, study the structure and participants, study the sample code, choose the meaningful names, define the classes, define application specific operations, implement the operations. So these are the steps by which we can easily use a design pattern. That is how to use a design pattern. In the sense, we have to use these 7 steps for using the design pattern. So these are the concepts which we have covered so far in our syllabus. That is according to your syllabus. If you are having any doubts related to these topics, now the session is open for you to discuss. If you are not understood anywhere or if you are having any doubts, now the session is open for Q&A sessions. Any doubts you can raise. So if no doubts, within 5 minutes I will close the session. సగమైంది 75%